So when we last played, the party were making their way towards the island, the islet that holds Nastryn's Macabrey, and through Squadge's actions, with the Relt blade, it seems to have broken the connection between yourself and the woman clad in the blue outfit that you'd seen before. So, what we at the moment, the party are actually moving towards Nastryn's island. So, as you approach Nastryn's, you can actually see that the layout of the small islet is pretty straightforward. There is where you previously were, which was you entered through the ticket tent and went into the valuation hall, where you came across those strange, like hooded figures that were doing valuations and seemingly manipulated by another force of some form. Nearby is a large warehouse where you've been led to believe is where most of the stock of Nastrons is actually stored. And just here is one of the large pylons that goes up and holds the wharf above, about 90 feet above you. So at the moment, you're actually moving towards the island itself, and the water taximan, who is still completely put out by what he's already seen, from this, the fact that you guys are constantly being, looking for pursuit, etc., is, moving along. He seems far more cheerful than the last fella you had when you were leaving the Bedroll Isle. But the question is, where are you going? So you can basically see that you can proceed down to the normal landing points, which are down here near the pontoon walkways that link the islets together. Or alternatively, you could potentially ask him to put you down on somewhere else on the islet itself. So it's up to you. Where are you going? He's sort of looking at you like you've having this brief discussion among yourselves as to where will you get him to put you in.
And how many other water taxis are on the in the bay at the moment?
Oh, there's lots of them. It's now daytime. You went through the morning, got breakfast, so you're moving towards getting towards mid-morning.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I mean, are there any other sort of, are there water taxis, having smoke out a certain bay or something like that, or are they only docking near the dock?
Right.
If that makes sense.
When you look, there doesn't seem to be any other water taxis going in anywhere else apart from that dock. And that could just be because it seems to be the easiest point to disembark and unload passengers.
What say you, Tyre of the Knot?
Um, is it like a crowded spot at the moment? Like, there lots of people sort of at the landing? The
Not that much in water taxis, but quite a few moving across the pontoons and coming
Okay,
across. You can see people of various travellers, locals. I mean, it's not like a procession of like going into a Black Friday situation. Like, it's
yeah.
not quite like that. But there's quite a lot of foot traffic this time, starting the day. Most of them are people who know that Nastrons offer valuations on old items, and because of the sigillists above that have huge influence in the capital, particularly the Order of St. Puritus, so who frown upon these items because of their heritage.
I've rolled a perception looking
Yeah.
particularly for guards or people that are in a configuration that would be a guard configuration.
Okay.
Um,
When you look down on the islet, you're not seeing anybody who appears to meet the description of what you're looking at. There doesn't seem to be any organised soldiery in any of those locations. You see a couple of armed travellers, but none that seem to be paying any attention to the water or to you. You, with that perception, you are looking at people who are focused on what they're doing.
So shall we make landfall at the dock so as not to break? Maybe I'll ask the water taximan. What is it a right to berth us at somewhere other than the dock? I mean, what is it frowned upon? Should we walk across to the valuation hall and not follow the mainstream?
I couldn't and he's still, polling, along you're still moving along at a fair pace. And he says to you, I'm afraid I can't really tell you a great deal. He says, I've never put anybody down there, and I've never heard of anybody just, putting down on the island. Most go to the actual dock point because they are, they're off to do business. And you see he's moving generally in that direction. So you have a few minutes to decide what you want to do.
What say you? What say you all? I think it's good that we blend in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that. I think there's no obvious sort of guards waiting for us. Then, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to get out of here as soon as possible.
Just want to get out of this joint.
Who knows when I can start tracking us again? I want out.
Yeah. I think in that being the case, then Damian, you make a perception roll. You're just sitting there in the back, like sitting next to Check Penny, just watching the direction from where that woman was. Again, you are looking strenuously, and you gain no sign of her. When you saw her turn, go back in amongst the items on Bedroll Isle, you have seen no further sign of her. So gradually you make your way down to the dock. As you get there, you can see that the figures that are standing there letting people on, there's nobody waiting for you. There's no reception crowd of any form here. It's quite desolate, the large house and valuation hall, and you just see people making their way up this path, which seems very delineated, towards the ticket tent. So you're going to go the same route you did before?
Sure.
Okay. So basically you follow the path that you go through to the ticket tent again. And you arrive at the entrance and you see a couple of travellers, take their way, go out past you, holding onto a token. The token, you now remember, was unusual in some ways because it had sort of a strange, multi sort of limbed effigy on it. So, is someone going in to get a token?
Yeah, no, Squadge is happy to go in and get a token too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you remember, the last time you went in, you had to pay 5 gold pieces for a token. Basically, that just gets you into the queue for the valuation hall?
I need one of our special coins. I'd like to use one of the coins from the bent curve
Mm,
that are marked differently.
okay. So I'm assuming that's arranged?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So, Filialis, you pull one of these large coins out that has this sort of like stylized figure of a rune on it, and you hand that over, and you can see around it are these sort of divisions. It's hard to describe. It's like there are facets within the coin which are showing different scenes with a rune sitting in the middle. And on the back, it has the image of what looks to be like a domed building of some kind. But even the crude design on this coin gives you a real sense of that place would be vast in size. Like it just, you don't know how a coin could give you such a strong image of a place. Anyway, so you hand that over to Squadge. So Squadge, as you walk through the open vestige of the tent, and you see one of those figures that is wearing like a cowled robe, is somewhat endogenous, is somewhat sort of ambiguous in its race, in its gender. You get a hint of no hair, but the one thing that you do look up is that sort of strange, sort of almost jerking movement that you saw before as it sits behind the counter, and it's almost like the arms move like they're as if they're on puppet strings, and it holds out like a rigid funnel sort of looking ladle instrument, much like a collection bowl in a church. And it holds it out, the same as it did before, just looking at you with these black eyes that seem to have no pupils. To drop the coin.
I drop the coin in and say I wink.
Okay. Right, you look
And
at
say, we've come across these and may have more of them. Not so much requiring evaluation, but information.
and you see the head of this
That
thing.
perhaps you can. We don't need a high level evaluator, but we would like to wait in some place of comfort while the evaluation does happen. And I'd like to try and persuade him that we've got some riches, but we're not quite willing to put them on the table yet.
All right, so you're giving a vibe with that story. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's not great, but that's okay.
And you see it clicks, and you see the words. It's listening to your words again with that sort of jerking motion, and you see it's like its eyes, even though you can't see its pupils properly, but you know that the eyes have moved to this collection cup. And you see as it turns, it tilts it slightly forward and then stops, like in a jerking motion, and looks at it. And it disappears down there, and you hear like a faint clunk and the faint sound of like a coin rolling somewhere. And you see it looks up and says, "Proceed to the valuation hall. You will be seen immediately." And you watch as like almost like thick viscous liquid that looks like, on anything else would look like sweat, but on this it just seems too viscous, too dense as it's running down its face. And again, it sort of goes back into that like alert, fixed position, like it's an automaton waiting for the next repetition of its task. So you move forward, and by the door, standing by the door is a man. Also, he appears clearly that the breeze this morning that's coming in through the Elves Inlet the breeze is quite strong, and it pushes his sort of hood that he is wearing away from his head, and it falls back, and you can see that his head is shaven, but Damian, because Damian is someone who's quite aware of his appearance and things like that. He sort of looks, and it's the kind of bald head you only get with certain treatments. There's no sign of hair growth. You've seen similar things in temples back home in Vafor. So just pop that in for you. So this is the man at the door as he walks towards you. You notice the point of difference in him is that his eyes are black within black, not like the one at the desk, which seemed to have completely black eyes. The white, there were no white. He has whites in his eyes, but his pupil and iris are all the same colour. And he walks forward, and in the light, it doesn't seem to be particularly comfortable in the rays of morning sunlight that are breaking through the wharf in the gaps. And he steps back. And Filialis, I think it's more about a bestial sort of thing, but as you're walking past, eyes quickly flick down to you, and you notice that the right eye seems to move faster than the left, and for this very second you get this glimpse that you're looking at an eye looking through his eye. You swear you can see another eye within it. He turns around and he gestures for you to enter, and you can see that you walk into a room which is about 70 odd feet long. There are, if you recall, there are a series of benches with these valuers performing their tasks, and there were benches against the back wall to the right of the entry door. And you can see people are waiting there, waiting with their token for their time. And this guy goes around, asks you to come forward, and then moves around behind a desk which is fixed to the left-hand wall as you're walking into the hall. He turns around and stands behind this counter, and he says to you, "My name is Yud. I am a servant of my master Nastryn. The ticket servant has alerted us to a somewhat interesting piece of currency in your possession, and my master has indicated that he would like me to assist you personally." And
very good. Very good.
He beckons.
Yeah.
He walks towards the central, there are 9 benches, all uniformly laid out. And he walks forward to the front bench in the middle. And as he walks forward, you can see that the figure, like a duplicate now that you're looking, of the ticket seller, sort of nods in response, and then steps sideways, but seems to sort of disappear down behind the desk, and you hear a clunking noise. and he steps around behind the desk. You notice that when he does, if you remember last time when Squadge was having a valuation, there was like an arm that was like moving things for them to the side. You notice that when the figure valuer that leaves the desk at Yude's instruction, the actual arm that seems to be helping also seems to recede down through the aperture in the floor next to the desk. And Yude steps around behind the counter. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, during this time, could I put up Eyes of the Grave? Because why not?
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
see when I pick it up.
Yeah, of course.
There's just location of any undead within 60 feet.
It's strange because you see like a shimmer in all of these valuers that it's not undead, but it's something that is being controlled.
Okay.
So Yude comes around to the other side, and Damian, you're seeing the same thing in him, but it's far more subtle. And he stands behind the desk, and he appears to reach into the desk and pulls out your coin and puts it on the desk in front of him. My master is very interested as to where you obtained this item. Around you, you can hear conversation from people coming in to pay for valuations and receiving feedback from these similar creatures that are conducting it. And he looks and he says, while they can hear you, while you can hear them, they cannot hear you.
Look, I'll be honest, my friend. We seem to have got ourselves in some bother with some of the guard folk or ruffians on Bedroll Isle. We need some assistance in ensuring that this figure in blue doesn't keep tracking us. And at that point, I just want to read him, see what he's doing, see what he's thinking. Oh, nice work.
Okay. You see figure of blue, you notice that it's not so much his reaction, it's more of a case of you see that it seems like the eye pupil, like the pupil within the pupil sort of seems to dilate a little bit. In that you can see, you're getting your eyes getting in on the blackness within the blackness. It reacted to this description, undeniably.
Well, what say you? Can you help us perhaps not be as obvious?
The description of this person that you saw, you say they were wearing blue. Were there features in its dress which seemed to be brown in colour, perhaps leather?
I look to to Filialis and to Damian. Please,
you see
tell what you saw.
So, just rolling here, Windrah looks up and says, yes, she had leather. It reminded me in many ways of the clothing of my own people. And you see it seems almost like strangely like this Yude now recognizes for some reason that and focuses on the fact that Windrah is Stormborn and looks and then registers it and then looks at Filialis and registers what she may be.
Didn't she also wear a? I have a note here that says she wore a mask as well.
So does Damian raise that?
Yeah.
Okay. And he looks, and you see that all of you now see the pupil reaction. But the pupils are moving with an unusual speed, an inhuman speed. And he goes, that is very interesting. And you are correct. Of considerable consequence. The coin you have, I have been advised that this valuation will come at no cost to you. These coins are extremely old. They are elements of the old empire, which in itself is not overtly remarkable, except the age of the coins in question. These are coins from the first Aramic dynasty, of their second age. No coin exists from the first age of the Aramic emperors. Only this. This comes from a time of the fallen emperor of Alarin. He was also called the Render. There was an Aramic emperor, Alarin. He was the shining hope of the next phase of the Aramic era. For his own reasons, he gathered powers to him which should not have been. And these powers gave him the ability to create his Thayengar legions, which then dominated the world for thousands of years.
Does that sound familiar to me? Is that those warriors that are trapped as dogs?
Yep, the Thayengar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The coin that you carry is even more significant because in their culture, certain coins of certain denominations were only provided to those in certain social strata. This was not the payment of a common Thayengar warrior. They were not paid. They were immortal and endless. This bent cur my master knows of its existence, but would be keen to learn more of its identity. And you see his head jerks. For the first time, you see him having one of those like physical reactions to something, like the less sophisticated versions seem to have with commonality. And you see his expression changes from being basically like disappointedly serious to having a sense of drive or intimidation about him. He goes, My master would have more information as to the identity of this creature that bears the currency of the elite of the second era of the Aramic Empire. Was there a name?
I think if we were to share this information, it'd be better if it was face to face, and also maybe some compensation. I don't know what's in it for us. We went to a lot of, well, we went to a lot of shit to put it casually to get this information. So
Okay. There you go. Please wait a moment. Sit. And he turns around and indicates to the others, and all of the others at their benches start finishing what they're doing and telling people that the valuation hall is closing. You can hear this indignation, but it's like nobody really sees that you're there. These people shuffle out complaining about, why, what, I've come a long way for this. What are they doing? They're closing early? Are they sick? So basically, what I'm going to do is take you over somewhere else so I can get rid of these. Oh, come on. Okay. So you're sitting at the benches where you're asked, and the figure of Yude is behind this bench here. You're looking up towards the rest of them, and you see the rest of them, the valuers, seem almost like they're frozen. They've just stopped. And you look, as you're looking around, gradually you see the torches progressively start to drop away, except for the lanterns that are nearby and at the end of the hall. And you'd, as the last people go by, the doors shut behind them of their own volition. And Yude looks at you and he says, "My master has agreed to see you." Prepare yourself. My master's visage is one that is very rarely seen by your people. And as that happens, in front of you, you see like a smoke which seems thicker in its form starts rising out of between these wooden floorboards and out of the holes where the valuers seem those sort of tentacly sort of things that are helping them. And suddenly the smoke coalesces and begins to solidify in front of you. And this creature starts to manifest. You can see swirling sort of forms of smoke that becomes dense. The air becomes thick of a scent, like sweet sappiness, like you're smelling the most overly sweet cake. But it has like a smell of like decay as well as that. Damian, your eyes of the grave, as this thing is forming, you can see that this thing is pulling itself from death into life. You watch as like the smoke is becoming dense, and the death disappears, and this strange semi-death that you're seeing in its servants starts to appear, and then suddenly it solidifies in front of you.
Before anything happens, does this feel at all similar to what we experienced at that other area? Can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the island, the elf, or
Yeah.
sort of in a way, but this is different. This is it's strange. It's almost so strangely appropriate that this place seems to be a node for these things. It's like an ancient place where these creatures just seem to be able to be. And you see this large tentacled thing, and a tentacle moves forward towards you, not with any threat of speed, and even to the point where you feel like a psychic salve is being laid over you to help control fear, or it's holding something back that normally would be inducing sensations of incredible fear. Check Penny is just absolutely gobsmacked. He's just sitting there with his eyes just bulging, looking at this creature.
That's right, mate. The adults are going to talk.
One of the
Big boys
tentacles...
are going to...
Exactly. One of the tentacles moves forward towards you and covers the distance easily. This thing can reach anywhere in this hall without any problem whatsoever. And you see as this tentacle comes forward towards you, it sits upright, like in this sort of upright, like gooseneck position. And you watch as like it splits on the front, and as it splits, you see these things that look like fat thumb things, like pushing their way through and forcing their way through out of this tear. And then as it opens up, as they bulb out and the liquid, this dark liquid, runs off them, you see that they open up, and this black, purple and red eyes open up all the way along. So like it's just like this run of eyes all the way it's up the top. You get this sense of being bathed in magical forces. Like this thing is analysing you. It can see things. You know, you can just tell. The eyes are all slightly different. They seem to have different focuses in their pupils. Like it's each one of them sees a different spectrum of something. And you feel this creeping, this sensation in your ears, like it's coming along the nerves of your own ear to hearing, but for a little while there's a brief bit of pain. And then you get this sense of your ears being filled with water. And it's like a distorted voice is coming through to you. And it's, my apologies for the way I must communicate. But this is the only way I can do so in your plane.
That's all right. We're all pretty used to it with my shenanigans.
So in this case, because as I said, Damian, because you do understand the use of this power, this is not psychic transfer. This is using this creature has manifested water into your oral canal so it can use it to transmit and translate the vibrations it's creating. to you. You are actually hearing it. But if you were hearing it without this liquid to create that transition, it would make no sense to you.
Righto.
You notice yourself, like Squadge, for example, you feel a droplet on your hand, and you can see that it's the same kind of viscous, sort of sweaty solution is now coming out of your own skin. And this the thing looks, this tentacle like moves around slightly and is looking at you from different angles. It goes, "Do you have a name for the creature you spoke to?" "It is important."
I don't know. My mind's kind of foggy.
So what you guys are telling me that none of you wrote down the name that the banker gave you?
No, I'm more trying to. I'm trying to see what he's going to give us.
I did. Hang on. I would have.
I have it somewhere. Yeah, isn't it? I've got Kagor, isn't it?
All right, are you throwing
If
that
I
out
stop
there?
it. No,
No?
I am checking with the party. Is it Kagor? I think it is.
All right, is that what you're voting for?
Wait.
All right, I'll give you a moment to have a think about it. You want some thinking music? I'll put that on.
Yeah, no, I've got Kagor as well.
Kagor, yeah.
Kagor, the Arame, strike commander of the Empire.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is being conveyed, I gather.
I want to know what we're getting.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure we're conveying it, but I think we should ask, why would you like to know? With all due respect, we're all on a mission to understand something, and we feel as though you understand a lot more than we do, and it would be good to understand whether we are informing ourselves or deceiving ourselves.
The presence of some creatures here could be a very bad sign of something to come in the future. Did this creature afford you a task?
How would it be a bad sign of things in the future? Are you proposing a apocalypse?
No. I talk of a utopian rule that is absolute. Where your identities would once again be lost. Sometimes what races believe they need is not always the best course of action. I will reward you for this information because there are those who must be informed and prepared.
Can you tell us of the Val? Perhaps that would be a reward.
Aval. Vials were power fulcrums of the Aramic Empire. When they are active, they can harness great arcane energies and amplify them. They can be used for teleportation, planet travel, communication. But they rely on a balance of three forces. Three forces that cannot be part of them, but must be with them. These forces come in mirrors. Mirrors in which a soul is trapped that provides the force.
What did we do with that mirror that we got off Cadrak?
It's in the bag, isn't it?
I reckon it's in the bag.
Okay.
Non-functioning oval is a large bowl. Functioning is a source of incredible power. There is one Val that is damaged, but does work here in Ilath. While it cannot project power, it can harness power. It is used by the Stormborn in their device they call the Needle to protect their city from the storms. And where did you hear or see of a Val? And you see the tentacle moves towards Squadge. The eyes are like about a foot away from his face.
I heard stories of the Val when I heard that there was a corrupted water element.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
No, it's not going to be fun.
Yes. I do not understand why you choose to try to deceive me.
But it is no deception. It is what I remember, that the element of water is corrupt, and that reclaiming the Val for the Aramic Empire would be beneficial.
The tentacles move away from you. I stand corrected then. There is no benefit in the Aramic agents having a Val. Do you see this? And you see in front of you, you see that coin levitates off the table where you'd sitting and appears in front of you. But in your mind's eye, it seems larger, like this image of a building. You go looking at it. Do you see this place? You stand within it. Here is where that place was. Here, that is why I exist here. This is why a freeness exists here. And this is why the bent cur exists here. I do not want to force you. I mean no harm to any of you. However, I have spent an eternity waiting for someone to bring me the evidence I need, the information I need, and the verification I need.
And what exactly do you need it for? Just out of curiosity.
Should a Val become fully functional, this would create the gateway needed for the agents of the Empire to return to their place of power here, and to draw upon the power of that Val to give your people their dominion of eternal rule under the swords and spears of the Thangar legions that sit just beyond that portal waiting. Recently I have been gaining a sense of Thangar's presence here, becoming ever more active. My associate Afrinus has sought this information in its own way by developing relationships with various orders of Ilath and further. It was brought to my attention somebody was summoning Afrinus. If someone knew his name, then they were an agent of one of the orders that Afrinus patronizes. Just let me make sure you understand. There is no winner in a return of the Empire. And particularly if there is a return of the Render. There is nothing that would stop it. Not your Crypt King of the Archostians. Not the Necrogogs of the Quandian Empire. None of them. None of them would stand before the ancient Emperor of the Aramic rule.
I'm a
I
little bit.
want to. No, sorry. Okay. Okay.
A little bit confused on your kind of your stance on it. Do you want the Empire to come back, or are you trying to prevent it by getting this information?
I am trying to protect you from it. I mean, your races know ill will. All things in this cosmos have a place. But there are those who decide what can exist and what cannot. The Render Emperor is one such who would make that decision and has left. I cannot honestly tell you if there are any more of my kind left. I know only I exist. I know a freeness of its people exists. And I knew the Bent Cur existed. While the locals here saw this as some monster of nightmare, I chose to integrate. I chose to be of value whilst I gained value from the information brought to me. However, it has become interesting of late that the proprietor of the Dogfish has gained a sudden interest in the relics that come from the land the Bent Cur wanders to the east.
Who is this proprietor?
The proprietor. The proprietors come from an old family, a Balathian family. They're known as the Toths. Generation after generation, they have run the Dogfish here since the building of the Black Wharf.
And do they associate with the Balathian Empire?
Yes, I assume so. They entertain its people here. They provide the doorway for those who see themselves as holy in their false faith. To indulge themselves in things of that their very faith denies them. So, I ask again, will you share a name?
What do we think, guys?
If you can get us out of here.
I think you need to bargain. I think we need to bargain it. Yeah, good point, Filialis.
Okay. All right, would you want to have a quick chat about what you're planning to bargain for?
Well, if they're...
Yeah, so we do a group huddle.
Yeah.
You get the distinct impression. You get the distinct impression that this creature is negotiating in good faith. It doesn't seem you're getting no vibe it wants to harm you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm getting a similar vibe to when we talked to Ephrenus. They're pretty. I know, yeah, they're kind of cosmic horror-y, but they're kind of. They don't really hide things. What they want, they're pretty face value, to be honest.
You definitely do, and I think too, from Filialis's bestial sense, you get all the sense and smells, Filialis, of a creature that's becoming stressed. The odour is changing, the sweetness is getting more intense. Damian, from your medical background, you see the physical movement and of the eyes within this limb, and the other tentacled limbs that are writhing around, even to the point where you've noticed that within Yude, whose visage was so well replicated, now is looking more sort of automaton-y like the rest. You know, maybe that it seems this creature, who you can only assume is called Nastryn or goes by the name Nastryn, is losing focus on other elements of its control. The things that obviously is quite demanding for it to do.
I think that we're of little consequence in the scheme of things when it comes to how we are perceived. This is talking within the group, Matt. And I feel as though we will betray the Bent Kerr should we let Nastryn know his name is Tigor. And I do recall that him saying that there is a corrupt water element. And I don't, you know, Squadge is paranoid that he doesn't want to be manipulated by a force that isn't being straight up completely. But at the same time, I think we need to negotiate our way out of here to the surface, and perhaps giving up the name, but not our mission to obtain the 2 keys.
Well, all Nastryn's asking for is a name. He
Yeah.
isn't asking for anything else.
No,
Is there
correct.
a town that we need to hit up next that we can go straight to there instead of just on the surface of here, so we get a bit more distance?
Well, we need to go to the City of the Serpents, and we need to go to the Storm Plain,
Yeah.
which all sound a long way away.
And what I'll do, guys, as I said, also just for you to keep in mind, you do still have the outstanding mystery of Bedfrey Medich, his involvement with the Baron of Bezenwick.
Yeah. Now, I was going to mention. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah.
Don't mean to talk over you, but Damian, maybe you want to bargain to understand what it is within your blood that allows that you've been injected with.
Yeah. Or at the very least, we can try and get Nastryn to send us somewhere that will take us on the path to getting that managed.
But if we don't want them to know where our mission is, then if we give them a direction on which we want to go, then they'll sort of
Yeah,
I think the surface will be. I think just even Angel's Port will be fine for us. Just even getting out of this place where, however, we do need to understand whether Damian's got a tracking dart within him.
Well, we've established. Yeah, I've written here. I'm being tracked via the stab wound I was given. So.
Yeah. So Nastryn is the right beast to understand and maybe remove that.
Yeah.
So maybe we bargain that as well as our safe passage to the surface for a name.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it's looking stressed, then we have a slight bargaining advantage here, so I think we can get both transportation and that bit of information out, I reckon.
Are we just saying Kagor, or are we also giving their, like, title? I don't know how much Nastryn knows about this person individually.
I think we might, and Nastryn may probe us for more information, such as how do we meet Kagor, and so maybe we need some sort of a understanding of how Kagor's name came to us.
I just asked.
And why he let us live. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like if we're talking about a supreme being letting us live, there's a reason he's done that, and we don't want to be. So maybe it's a we say that it was sort of going mad or something. I don't know. I'll leave it open to everyone.
Last time we tried to lie, well, quote unquote lie, it didn't really go that well. I can try doing it.
What just thinks a lot of different things.
Yeah.
He believes all of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right, guys, what are you moving forward with?
Well, let's see if they'll agree to our quote unquote demands.
Yeah. Filialis, let's let you take I think Filialis
Alright.
and Damian, I think you need to negotiate your way out of this.
All right. I say we'll tell you the name, but we need some things in return.
And you see, it looks Danny and the eyes move forward towards you. Agreed so far.
First of all, we require an escape because there are lots of people after us down here in the Dogfish, so we don't fancy our chances if we stay around too long. So we would like to get out of here. So if you could find a way to get us back up to the Black Wolf, that would be great.
You do understand that if you leave the Black Wolf, your lives would be forfeit in Balath. Only because of some of your racial background. And see, turns around, looks at Damian and Squadge and goes, see the lieutenant move over towards you. You both would be spared. He turns back towards Windrah and Filialis. But you would not. Unless you were disguised. How is this for a bargain? I will give you the means. I will give you the means to move within Balath with a way that your image can be changed for a time. And I will get you to a point away from here.
Feel that.
Are we agreed so far?
Everyone raise your hands and say aye.
And
I've had this. How long ago was it now since I was stabbed? It was only like 1 or 2 days.
2 days.
So we had this altercation with a gentleman where I was stabbed. However, we've come to realize it may not be an ordinary wound. In exchange for this name, we would like, if you could, to somehow deal with it. Yeah.
So, you wish to be sent from here to relative safety with the means by which to have your identities hidden. And you would like me to remove that thing. That, and you see one of the eyeballs looks down, is in your arm.
From my understanding, yes.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Why are you all here anyway?
It is our destiny. It is, as it is your destiny that you are here. It is our destiny that we are here. We have been brought together.
We're on a
It
morning
is as
tour.
the coda wills.
Yeah, it feels. And you get this sense in this that vibration, this liquid that's in your ear, that its mood seems to have improved somewhat. And if you there's like this background vibration which you almost feel like Nastryn is actually chuckling at the deliberate vagaries that you're trying to provide when he's asking a question.
The well-oiled machine in our group.
It says, I am pleased you have not asked for money. You have asked for means and well-being. This is all I wish for your people. Very well. And you see another tentacle comes forward. And this one, as it moves forward, it's like the sucker points seem to have like little hairs coming from them. And you realize in that moment that Nastryn's physical form manifested this way. The arms serve different purposes. So this one reaches forward and the feathered tip of it moves forward towards Damian's arm. And you hear it, Damian, you hear, do you wish me to cut through your clothing or do you intend to roll up your sleeve?
Yeah, I'll roll up my sleeve.
And you feel that this feather-like appendages come close, like the tentacle stops maybe a centimetre from your skin, and this giant tentacle, right, that's right there. And you feel the little sucker points, these little feather-like things, but as they get close to your skin, Damian, you see that they harden into what looks like a coral. And you see the glint of sharpness in the lantern light that's behind you. And you see one quickly cuts your arm, and another seems to form more into like a little spade bit. And with two of them, they grip something, and they pull it out, and it curls back away. And you look down, and you've got a cut that's probably about a centimetre long, and very fine. But you feel this sudden sense of something significant being removed. Something that you didn't notice. Sorry, go ahead.
Just because Damian's a bit surgical, is he like impressed by the handiwork?
Oh, yeah. This thing can manifest these little appendages from a liquid into a solid and shape them how it would be. It'd make a perfect thief, being able to break into things. But you notice that, and the few droplets of blood stop pretty well straight away. There's virtually no. And you see that that tentacle moves up towards the one with the eyes, and you watch all these different eyes get moved along and looking at this thing, and then it brings it back, and it offers it to you.
Is it like, what is it? Is it wet or?
There's a
I'm
glistening.
gonna grab a vial.
There's a
I'm just gonna
glistening
grab a
to it.
vial out of my alchemist kit
Okay.
and I will put it in.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So you see straight away this creature is extremely intelligent. It sees your intent. And you watch as it drops this red, quite naturally vibrant red thing that looks into this vial. And you look at it. It's a stiff hair. And as you put a stopper into it, you see it looks like the bristling hair and it's like red coloured. And as the tentacled eyes come up, you're looking at the vial, and as you're looking at the vial, for a little while you get a little bit shocked because one of Nastryn's eyeballs comes right up against the glass and it sort of like amplifies the size of it through the vial. And you see that drops up and it looks up towards you and looks back at Filialis. The tentacle turns around. It looks. The hair of a fox. But no normal fox. The nature of the magic in that is unusual. And the tentacles pull back. Now, I would have my exchange.
Who would like to do the honors?
Squad, it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. Kagor.
And you see the tentacles like pull back. And you see the eye thing come straight towards you, Squadge. It says, you must be very sure.
The Aramic Strike Commander.
Even here the deception continues. Not on your part. Kagor is no strike commander. Kagor is the first general of the Render's legions, the fist of the Empire. If Kagor is the bent cur, and you see the tentacles turn to the east, the direction of where the Dead Stones is. The Val's inefficiency is all that is holding back all of the legions of the Empire, if their greatest commander has given up her energy and existence to be here.
Can I trying to use insight to just... I want to know...
Yeah, good move.
Never mind. I have
You
really
are-
good insight.
You are
today.
overwhelmed.
This is a lot, man. There's a giant tentacle monster in front of me. I think that drug is... I think it's wearing off.
Yeah.
And maintaining my manifestation is tiring me. And you see Yude seems to come to his senses somewhat, but far more jerkingly, and there's like that vibration again where it's directing sound towards Yude, but you cannot hear what it says. But you see Yude acknowledges the eyes that are coming through the tentacled arm. The tentacles like come back towards you again. You have done what thousands of years of waiting has not. Searching through the fractured pieces of mosaic brought to me by those seeking their fortune in the Dead Stones. I wish you well. You'd will attend to my agreement.
Cool, yeah, get some rest, man.
Yeah. So, basically, the form of Nastryn disappears.
Wow.
As it just disappears back down into these vents. Ood moves forward towards this main bench at the front and beckons for you to come forward. You don't need to move the tokens. You just move forward to this large bench, and he reaches underneath, and you feel like a vacuum of air move. You don't know how it happens, but he brings out like a large wrapped cloth, which he undoes a buckle and he unrolls it. And in each of these things is a small glass vial, similar to what Damian was using to put the fox hair into, but slightly more ornate in their form, sitting on leather tie, which is tied around it, quite like rudimentarily, like in a knot. But you watch as he undoes and rolls out the actual sheet, one by one, the contents, the clear liquid in them, gets that purpley red, essency light of Nastryn, starts forming and appearing in it. And you notice that as it unrolls, there was enough for you all, including Checkpenny. They've obviously, Nastryn's just assumed that he's part of it. Right. Ood looks and says that these vials, these liquids, keep them around your necks, and they will give you the ability to hide your identity. I encourage you to travel at night. The liquid's exposure to sunlight will denigrate it. It will expire within 7 days. However, the more light it strikes it, the quicker it will denigrate. And there is no way to tell you how each individual's vial, depending on how it's been affected, will last. So he hands those out to all of you. Whatever you think you appear like, that is what you will appear like within the confines, and the advice of my master is simple: appear human. In the case of the humans, you can alter your appearance. And see, he does that, and he gives you those items. And he says, and now this. And you see that he gets another roll out and unrolls it. And there's a stone in there, and the stone appears to be shimmering like it's hot or it's been heated. Grasp the stone and imagine wherever you would like to be. The further away, the more pain the stone will cause. Do not go too far, or the pain will overwhelm you. Grasp it in your hand, and ensure you know where you want to go if you choose to end up together. And he said, and underneath, he pulls another item out. The item is a very small book, and it looks very old. I do not know, and I doubt whether you can read this, that it may be valuable to you at a later time. When he puts the cover down, you can see the cover has what looks to be a wave of water in the middle of it, which is like sitting within an ornate piece of coral or a shell, and there's blue around it. It has 4 sort of symbols, one in each corner of the front cover of this small book. To all intents and purposes, it would look like, if you're thinking of a book to us, a small Bible, like a condensed small Bible. This will help you, the imagery in this and the information therein, should you get somebody who can read it for you. But at least the pictures will help you to avoid the woman in the blue outfit.
What were the 4 symbols on the book?
So when you look up, there's the central symbol, which is like the wave. So
Yep.
I will send you the symbol so you'll be able to see this. But basically, the symbols on the cover are the symbols of concern. If those symbols...
So the wave, the fist, the eye, and the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Can I flick through it?
Yeah, of course. When you look through it, what languages do you speak?
I've got, in terms of this world, Alathian and Kondian, and then I've also got Celestial and Quarry, which is in base term, the Fafori language.
And I will make adjustments as to where that comes from, but the Celestial tongue, you are seeing words in that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look through, there's basically descriptions of the essences of things and the power of things. You see terms about whoever these people are, they seem to have the power to extract the essence of life from things.
But this isn't exactly the language I know. It's kind of like a sister language, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if I sat down with it for a while, I could probably figure out what it says.
Yeah, it would be, and there are definitely words in there that you are not familiar with. So you would probably lack context, but yeah, you'd probably be able to pick a lot of it up. All right.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Now, the one thing I will say to you, Damian, which is obviously it's up to whether Damian shares it with the party, but it's okay for them to know and not metagame it, is that some of the words you're seeing in it that you don't understand are words that you've seen on the inside lining of the Voice of Sleep.
I will hold on to that for the time being.
Okay.
Maybe, depending on where we end up going, if we have a very quiet, secure area, I might bring it up.
Okay. So you've got these. You really need to know where you want to go, because these stones that are hot, it's about how long can you hold them, as to how far you want to go. Now, I appreciate that when Yu's description was very esoteric, but if one of you wants to make maybe an Arcana roll, I'll let that with the help action. So from the others, just from bits and pieces of information. So it's up to you. Whoever you think would be in the best place to do that.
My Arcana's nil,
Okay.
but it's better than negative, so... Is that the best we've got?
I'll just have a quick look. I'll quickly call up...
We've got -1, so...
So you're not the go, hey? You are not the guy. I'll just double check Windrah, but I'm not. I don't think Windrah is great either. Where are we? No, Windrah's is -1 as well.
Alright, let's just do a straight roll with advantage.
Yep. Okay,
Oh.
so 18. Damian, you get a sense from these stones and from what you've been told that you could really go anywhere you wanted in the world, anywhere. These stones are a limited energy of teleportation. The
Just how
further
many
you
hit points do we
go,
have?
yeah, the further you go, what you don't know is the formula for how far you go as to how much pain they will inflict. They look very reminiscent of the stone that Windrah had, that she crushed to use that once-off use of scorching ray.
What do we reckon, guys? Just want to go upstairs and then crash the rest of the day, or
Well, look, what I'll do is I'll just quickly bring you back to the I mean, what do you want to look at any other maps, or are you thinking of just getting back
No,
into Angel's Port?
I think if we're going to crash, we crash here.
and then
That's
teleport later,
what I
or
think. No, my gut feel is this place is protected, right? Nastryn is a pretty big entity when it comes to everything here, and I'm pretty sure if we could get some board or some rest, and I think we're pretty much we should be able to maybe ask for a bit of time, and a bit of time being 8 hours.
Yeah.
Can we float that by mood?
Yeah, sure. So
is it overstepping if we like maybe crash in their warehouse or something? I don't know.
and you see that you'd certainly, and he goes, my master needs to rest. However, he tells me you are welcome. He leads you to the back of the hall, and at the back of the hall there is a set of stairs, right, which start here.
Sorry. Oh, yep.
And he leads you up that wooden staircase. The one thing that you've noticed about Nastryn's is that something which has been, in retrospect, Windrah found quite soothing. There is no metal here apart from the coin. It's all made of wood or natural stone. There seems to be no metal fittings. When he gets to the top, the door he opens has a wooden handle. You go into a stone corridor, which seems very cold. It's not. Things that are in here are stored, and those that are working here do not need the comforts of a fire. But he walks down a corridor and opens a door, and you can see that there are disused bed frames. They're bed frames where maybe at one time there were mattresses or not, and he says that, I'm afraid we cannot offer you the comfort, but you seem to be equipped to travel the road. I will organize for heat, and I will have food brought.
Cool.
Yeah, I think this is our best spot to camp out.
Mm-hmm. The stones are put into small bags for you, even though they seem to be very light hessian. But for some reason, if your skin's not directly in contact with the stones, you can't feel their heat. So you are each carrying one of those stones now in a bag. Yude does explain to you when the... Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say before you leaves,
Mm-hmm.
who's got all of our money? Filialis does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna go over to Filialis, see if I can maybe grab 10 gold, just
Yeah.
if that's all right.
Mm. Yep.
And I'd like to go up to you just before he ends up leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Because Damian kind of feels really bad that he keeps asking for all these things, and that he's like genuinely surprised they're being really nice. So before you leaves, he'd like to go up and say, "Hey, I don't know if you or your master really care about financial compensation and whatnot, but I know you guys are really interested in these coins that we've got, so I was just wondering if you, I don't know, wanted another one."
And he says, "Would you like to know what our master does with the money that is given for valuation?"
Sure, why not?
The money is taken and given to a place called the Penniless Sanctuary. It is a monastery that distributes that money to help finance the orders of the Two-Headed Crow.
Oh.
Just a quick reminder, what do they do again?
So the Two-Headed Crow is an order of monks, which they do have some militant arms, but they basically are, they facilitate care for the poor, healing. They're basically true philanthropic sort of organisations that go around and help people.
And can I use insight? Just, I'm pretty sure I believe him, but I just want to double check.
No.
Yeah, there seems to be no sense of deception. He's very hard to read because he's so, even though he's the most human of these servants, he is, you get the sense he's very powerful in his own right. You suddenly notice this, Damian, like from the sense of when you look at him, yeah, he's a powerful entity himself. But,
Like, in a sense that him and Nastryn are less like master servant and more like, I don't know, like CEO secretary kind of deal. Like they're a bit more.
it could be, and also perhaps Yude is perhaps Nastryn's closest experience to being human, closest link to it.
How much are these coins worth again? I know they're. I think you said they're a bit more than
3 gold.
There were 3 gold each.
Three
Yeah.
each. I'm gonna give 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no. He basically takes them, and you notice that when the valuations were going on, you were watching people pay for valuations the first time you were here. They react no differently to 5 pieces of gold to 1,000 pieces of gold. To them, from their point of view, it's of no difference whatsoever. Now that this has been mentioned, I'll say that Squadge, probably you, because you're the oldest sort of character and probably the most well-travelled, right, with the knot in the past. Now you look at Yude and he's wearing that green scarf and grey robe, and you suddenly realise that they are the colours of the Two-Headed Crow. As are all the other servants. They're all wearing the same thing. It could be coincidence, but it does suddenly cross his mind that maybe these people come here because they choose to take on this alternate existence with Nastryn. You don't know.
Ooh, there's a
Yeah.
front that we can
Well, Squadge isn't thinking that. Squadge is thinking that maybe there's something more sinister going on, and you know,
in his mind.
the two-headed crow isn't as good as it sounds. You know.
Yeah. But yes, so you, one of these servitors that now Squadge is completely fixated on the fact is dressed in the outfits of the two-headed crow, brings a large tray in with food. You don't think it was prepared here. It did take some time. You think they've ordered out. You know, something's been brought over from, the dog roll aisle or something like that. When the tray gets put down, Squadge, your hand starts to tingle.
Oh. Okay, so I'm going to quickly give it a bit of Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not great at Arcana. That come up?
All right, yeah, 16, but I want you to roll that. I want you to roll an investigation roll.
Oh.
The problem is, Squadge, is that you suddenly start to get that sensation of panic.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it, and you already know that they've got to this. That somehow they've got to this.
Yeah.
They can't see you, but they brought this thing here, and they've been near it. You know it.
I tell everyone, do I need it? And touch it. And I say to the servitors, take this away and take it to those waiting in line, to the ticket tent as a token.
And you see the servitor bows, and that sort of jerking sort of movement, it follows your instruction to the letter, turns around and walks out of the door, taking the food with you. It smelled beautiful.
You okay, mate? You're all good?
Yes, I am telling you. They're going to get us. The quicker we rest, the quicker we're out of here. That's it. That's all I got to say.
So I guess what do you guys, you break into your travel rations? I'm assuming you're all carrying rations, or does one of you have rations you can share?
Well, I think, Matt, to be honest, I think everyone left their packs back, except I know I picked mine up. I don't know how many other people picked up their packs.
Pretty sure I got my stuff.
Yeah, I remember you getting dressed. I think the only one person who didn't get fully dressed was... No, Filialis, you did. I can remember you pulled your boots on. I can remember. Yeah, you got your feet settled out. So look, I'm going to say you did all pick up your kit.
Yeah, good.
So do any of you carry rations? Did any of you obtain rations?
Yeah. I'm happy to break some rations with anyone who doesn't have any.
Yeah, same.
All right. So you break out.
I've only got 5 left.
Like 5 days.
I've been knocking off. Yeah.
Okay. So you each take a day of your normal rations, and you just lie there with your bedrolls just sprung over these old bed bases. And it's a strangely comfortable night, because for that briefest moment, without your companion's understanding of that, Squadge, you're no spellcaster, but your hand told you when that tray got taken away, that discomfort went away.
And hopefully some poor unfortunate soul is feeling the wrath of the Blue Lady.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I think also, is Squadge sharing that experience with his part, explaining his behaviour of sending the food away?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I say, look, I felt there was something wrong, and
Yeah.
you might think I'm crazy, and I might think I'm crazy, but I know there was something there that we need to avoid.
Okay.
Hey, look, Squadge, we've been with you for this amount of time already. Yeah, you're a little bit crazy, but I think we've learnt to trust your intuition by now, to be honest.
So
And
what I yeah,
speaking.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Matt. Can I grab the floor? So,
Yeah, of
speaking of
course.
such things,
Mm.
Filialis, you were close to death. In fact, dead. And myself close to death. And I propose that we have some mechanism that we can pass our things to others who may bring us back to the to the knots. Um, should we pass? Should our physical forms pass? And we know that the knot shall bring us more companions. And I think that should I die, then the next person in the knot should decide where my belongings shall go.
So what's
What say you?
Wait, so as in the new person who comes in decides, or someone who's already in the knot?
The new person
Yeah,
takes
cool.
possession.
it's
Yeah,
not it's
no,
sorry, go ahead, no. Sorry, did you want to say something? No?
No, no,
just
that was it.
No? Oh, okay. Um, it's not unusual for members of a knot in the Rapscallions to have a will. And it's the tire's responsibility to actually see that will goes forward. Similarly to what Gazanolt did with the gifts that he left and the information that he left behind. The only force that can really overrule the will of a member of a knot is the chapter house, the home, the hall master or hall mother of the hall. So basically, you're aware at the moment, in Hadring's Anvil, where your knot is based, hall mother Izel is the master of the hall. But it's extremely rare that a hall master would get involved in the share of spoils within a knot, as long as the commission is being fulfilled.
No.
All right. So yeah, you're sort of there with your older companion, being a bit sort of, again, it's, Squadge down to the ground, preparing for death, preparing for the worst, getting ready, about what could potentially happen, while he's sitting there rubbing his hand. So, as I said today, guys, we'll call it early because I don't want to get too far ahead again, like with Annie not being here. But I will hold hers in reserve. But I've got at the end of this session, I'm giving you a complication, a realization, right? They're very simple. Filialis, the hair that was taken from Damian's arm was a Vorgic hair. You could
Yeah.
sense it as soon as you saw it. But the other thing is the only fox savin of that you've ever known was Gazanolt.
Yeah.
The Damian, you've also realised that the hair that was in your arm was not put there by the cut. In fact, roll an intuition roll for me, and insight. Sorry, I keep calling it intuition because Rollmaster it was intuition. Oh wow!
That's where you want
Hmm.
Your feeling was you now believe the quill was a ruse. The quill was just there to make it look like you'd been injured.
it.
It's like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Righto.
Yep.
Because no one actually saw Gazanold die, did they?
The thing I will tell you, Squadge, is you suddenly realise and remember you have an items in the bag that you have not identified, and you are in a hall of identifiers.
Yeah.
Who are prepared to help you. You clearly are all thinking of the same thing. Yeah, these circumstances, how you've got to this point. What I'll also suggest you collectively is you are starting to doubt the legitimacy of the commission.
Yeah, because was it Kagor wants us to? Was it like repower the vials, right? But
Yeah, get the
Nastryn's saying probably not a good idea. So I think really our first goal is to get more information, make up our own minds.
And look, I'll
Well,
tell
what
you,
we...
I'll just
Sorry.
briefly tell you what I was going to give to Windrah, but it doesn't matter. You would all know this anyway. Windrah the weather has become quite bad above. Like you can hear that, I was saying before the wind was quite strong, that it drew back the hood of Yude. Quite a severe storm is coming from the sea, and as you know in your Stormborn companion, that amplifies her power, her perception. It changes things around her. And she looks at you, and then she suddenly says, "Where is the letter? The letter that came with the commission." And you've got it in the bag. Do you remember that Eric Prando letter right at the beginning? It's in your handouts.
Yeah.
The one that Kagor said that she used as a ruse, basically, a pseudonym. Right?
I don't have that.
Oh, you don't have the handout?
No.
Let me double check here.
It's got inspiration rules.
Oh
the
no,
Coda.
you don't. You don't. It is here somewhere.
I remember because I was looking for it the other day.
Yeah,
Like, for
I'll get it and I'll put it back. It's not so much the handout, the content of it. The content isn't what Windrah notices. But when I gather, Filialis, you're going to get it out of the bag?
Yeah.
The bag of holding? And she grabs it and she folds it back up. And she looks at it, and there is a symbol that looks like a silver, like a gold sun, or perhaps a copper sun, in the ink and the wax. And as she hands it back to you, she does so with a trembling hand and says, "I've got something to tell you." And that's where we'll end it.
Cool. So do we get to level up?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And what I will ask you is to go to the YouTube channel and look up the short video which is entitled, it's a prelude, and I think it's called The Night Gazanolt Died.
That's the one with, it was just you and Windrah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
And if you get a chance before the next session, have a listen to that. All right?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay.
That's it, guys, for tonight, I think. We'll get to that point, and yeah, Windrah's shaking hand and the symbol in that seal.
Wonderful.